Hi everyone, this is Rich of the Rich Maxwell channel. Welcome back. If you're new, the channel here is about drones and photography, so please subscribe if you're into those two things. So in this video, just going to do a quick tutorial. I'm going to talk about HDR images. So what do we mean by a HDR image? Well, essentially it's a high dynamic range. You'll probably have heard of it from looking at TVs. Modern TVs over the last few years have all had HDR technology and boast about it in their specs. So it's quite a big thing. It's essentially means that you capture a lot more detail in both your shadows and your highlights, so that gives you a lot more room to bring out detail and really sort of play with your images in Lightroom and create things like this image. So it gives you a lot more coloration, and all the detail is retained within the darker sections of the image as well as the brighter sections, so that enables you to develop up a really beautiful photo. And typically to do a HDR photograph, you'll take three exposures, one that's a normal exposure, one that's slightly overexposed, and then one that's underexposed, and then you'll blend these three images together so that the underexposed image will bring out the highlights, for example the sky and all the details in the clouds and the sun, and then the overexposed one will bring out all of your detail in your shadows, and then the one that's a regular exposure kind of works to do something in the middle, in between the three really, so you get all of the detail and then you can create some really stunningly beautiful colourful images. So it's great for landscape photography especially, and yeah, it does have other uses as well. You can do buildings with it and various other things. Typically when you take your three images, you're going to want to use a tripod, and then on your camera look for the bracketed exposure settings, so that will automatically take the three different exposures for you. So you can set your aperture, set your ISO, and then it will work by taking three different images at slightly different exposures, just changing the shutter speed, so then you can blend them together and make a really nice HDR image. And what I'm going to show you now is just when you've got your three images, what you need to do in Lightroom to bring them out into a HDR image, which you can then edit and bring up to your taste and your liking into hopefully a really stunning image. So over to the computer now then. So here we are then, we're in Lightroom now. We've got three images. So these images I took on my recent trip to Iceland. So if you haven't heard all about my Iceland trip, maybe you want to take a look at my vlog videos, and I've got vlogs of the 3 days that I was there for. So these three images then, they're of a statue and a church, a really picturesque setting. So as you can see, we've got a really bright sky, and then there's some shadows, such as on the roofs of the church and in front of the statue here, where we're potentially losing a bit of detail. So that's the normal exposure. And then we're going to go on to the next one, which is this one. This is the underexposed image, which has got all the detail in the sky and the clouds there, as you can see. And then the overexposed image, which has all the detail in the shadows that we want, but the sky is slightly blown out, and also around the statue there is a bit blown out. So to merge the three, all we got to do is hold down Shift, select our three images while we're in the library section, and then we're going to right click and click Photo Merge HDR. So that's going to bring up this little screen, and it's going to generate us a HDR preview. So it's just stacking the three images together now. It's a really clever feature in Lightroom, as this will also sort of blend the images together so that you don't get any ghosting. Well, the de-ghosting on this image isn't really necessary, but if you had an image, say for example, that had trees in it and it was windy, the de-ghosting would help blend the trees better together, as you might get some movement of the leaves and the branches, which would otherwise, if you stack the three images, create kind of a ghosting. So that de-ghosting amount that you can select here is going to help with that problem and help just blend it together and make it look like a proper photograph. And you have got the setting as well to click auto settings, which will then do all of the adjustments to the image for you. But I personally want to do those adjustments myself, so I would just merge it for now. And then from there you can see in this top left corner that Lightroom is creating the HDR image of those three pictures, and then in one moment we'll have the the HDR image ready for us to crack on and edit. So within this image, it might not look drastically different at first to the regularly exposed image, but there is definitely a lot more detail in there which you can use to develop your photograph better. So for example, the shadows, you can bring them up to, well, all the way up to 100%, and you're not going to get a load of noise and lose loads of detail like you would if you were just editing a single exposure image. So that's really useful about it. And likewise with the highlights, you can bring your highlights right the way up or down, and yeah, bringing them all the way down, you're not going to, again, lose all of the detail like you would usually. So you've got just a lot more range to play with on the sliders, and yeah, just get the image to your taste really. So that is pretty much it, how you create a HDR image. And from there, as I say, you've got a lot of options available to you using the usual sort of slider tools to really make the image pop out. So it depends what you want to do with it, how extreme you like your colours to be and your contrast and things. So you can, as I say, just get a lot more range from the image in terms of using the sliders, because with a regular exposure, you would just introduce a lot of noise, lose a lot of detail if you were just adjusting the slider bars all the way up and down like that. So I hope this has been useful. As I said, it's a really great tool in Lightroom, really easy to use, and hopefully this is going to encourage you to start taking HDR images and share these images online on Facebook, Instagram. Maybe leave a comment in my YouTube comments if you want me to take a look at your images and share what you've managed to achieve with HDR photos in Lightroom. That'd be great to see. And yeah, join me again for more videos soon. Regularly putting out there photography tutorials, drone tutorials and gear reviews, and also vlogs. Doing a few vlogs at the moment about my travels and just experiences with the world the way it is at the moment with the current pandemic situation, being locked in. So yeah, hope you've enjoyed the video. Please join me again soon. Bye for now, everyone.